Jana Duggar cancelled Johanna's wedding at the last minute, the truth behind it. Jana Duggar's decision to cancel her younger sister Johanna's wedding at the very last minute has sent shockwaves through the Duggar family circle and the wider online community that has followed their lives for years. What was supposed to be a joyful day filled with celebration, laughter, and family unity quickly turned into a whirlwind of confusion, disappointment, and speculation. Jana, often seen as the calm, responsible, and level-headed member of the family, made a choice that few saw coming, and now the world is asking why. Sources close to the family suggest that the cancellation was not made lightly and came after a series of emotional and possibly moral conflicts that left Jana no choice but to step in before things went too far. As the oldest daughter, she has always carried an unspoken role of responsibility. Part sister, part mother figure, and often the mediator in moments of family tension. Yet this time her involvement went beyond guidance, it became intervention. Reports indicate that Jana had noticed troubling issues surrounding Johanna's relationship in the weeks leading up to the ceremony. Some say she was concerned about the emotional readiness of her younger sister, who has grown up under the constant gaze of public attention. Others believe Jana had discovered information about the groom or the circumstances of the engagement that made her question whether the marriage was truly in Johanna's best interest. What we do know is that Jana's decision, though painful, appears to have been made out of deep concern rather than control. To understand the gravity of what happened, it's important to remember Jana's position within the Duggar family dynamic. For years, she has been described as the quiet backbone of the household, a woman of faith, strength, and remarkable patience, who has watched her siblings grow, marry, and start families of their own, while she remained single. That unique position has given her both perspective and a sense of responsibility unlike anyone else in the family. Those who know Jana personally describe her as someone who rarely acts impulsively, so for her to intervene in something as monumental as a wedding, it suggests that something significant occurred behind the scenes. Something powerful enough to make her risk family harmony and public scrutiny alike. Eyewitness accounts from the day before the wedding say that tensions were visible, family members appeared uneasy, and last-minute changes were being made to arrangements. When Jana reportedly called a private meeting with her parents and Johanna, it was clear that something was brewing. Hours later, the official announcement came that the ceremony was postponed indefinitely. While the family statement cited personal reasons and requested privacy, the online world was already ablaze with theories and questions. Social media users have been divided in their reactions. Some praised Jana for her courage, saying that if she felt something was wrong, it was better to stop the wedding than allow a mistake to unfold. Others, however, criticized the decision as overstepping boundaries, suggesting that Johanna, as an adult, should have been allowed to make her own choices. But deeper reflection reveals that such situations are rarely simple. Within large families, especially ones as publicly scrutinized as the Duggars, decisions often carry layers of faith, family values, and personal convictions. Jana's choice might have stemmed from her protective instincts and her desire to shield her sister from heartache or potential trouble. Emotional insiders claim that Johanna initially reacted with shock and frustration. For a young woman preparing for one of the biggest days of her life, to be told that everything was being called off was understandably devastating. Yet after some time, she reportedly began to understand her sister's intentions. A family friend mentioned that while there were tears and heartbreak, there was also relief, a quiet acknowledgement that maybe things had been moving too fast. From an analytical perspective, this incident opens up a broader conversation about family influence, personal choice, and the delicate balance between guidance and control. Jana, having spent her life in a highly structured environment with strict moral guidelines, has often been portrayed as someone who puts duty above emotion. But this situation shows that duty can sometimes be deeply emotional, especially when it involves protecting someone you love. Experts on family psychology point out that in close-knit families where one member takes on a parental role for younger siblings, boundaries can blur. What might seem like interference from the outside can often be an act of love from within. Jana's choice to intervene might have been guided by instincts honed through years of responsibility. But Johanna, who has grown up witnessing both the strengths and the controversies surrounding her family's parenting methods, seems determined to forge her own path, one that blends tradition with a more modern, emotionally aware approach. To understand why this moment resonates so deeply with the public, it's important to look at the legacy Johanna comes from. The Duggars have always emphasized faith-based parenting rooted in structure, modesty, and obedience. Those principles shaped generations within the family, but they also sparked years of public debate. As one of the younger Duggar daughters coming of age in a vastly different world, Johanna represents a bridge between those old values and the evolving ideas of modern parenthood. Her recent decision, which some describe as a quiet rebellion and others see as natural growth, seems to have touched a nerve because it symbolizes that very shift, away from rigid systems and toward personal balance. According to those close to her, Johanna's decision was not impulsive. It stemmed from long reflection on her own childhood experiences and the kind of parent she wants to be. Sources say she wanted her child to grow up with both discipline and freedom, a combination that for her represents a healthier and more grounded way to raise the next generation. But when she publicly expressed this view, particularly when she mentioned rethinking certain traditions about obedience and corporal punishment, the internet erupted. Critics accused her of betraying her upbringing, while supporters hailed her as a voice of courage and evolution within a family often associated with strict control. The emotional tone of the discussion online has been striking. On platforms like Reddit and Instagram, fans have dissected every word she said, trying to decode whether this represents a quiet revolution within the Duggar household or simply an honest reflection of a young mother finding her voice. Parenting experts have weighed in as well, noting that Johanna's openness signals a positive shift. One family counselor commented that her approach mirrors a broader societal change. Younger parents are beginning to see the value of emotional intelligence in child rearing. They're learning that love and boundaries can coexist, that respect can be taught without fear. Still, not everyone agrees. Some longtime followers of the family's earlier values argue that such changes risk abandoning what they see as foundational moral teachings. They fear that moving away from traditional discipline may lead to a lack of order and respect. Yet others counter that clinging too tightly to outdated methods can stifle growth and breed resentment. This tug-of-war between preservation and progress has always defined the Duggar family story, and Johanna now finds herself right in the middle of it, balancing her love for her roots with her desire to evolve. Emotionally, it's clear that Johanna's decision came from a place of love rather than rebellion. Those who know her personally describe her as deeply nurturing, introspective, and quietly determined. She is said to spend hours reading, researching, and reflecting on how to raise her child in a world that looks very different from the one she was raised in. Friends recall her saying that she doesn't want to parent out of fear but out of understanding. That statement alone, simple yet profound, seems to encapsulate the heart of the debate. The reaction from within the Duggar family has been equally intriguing. While official comments have been scarce, insiders note that there has been a mixture of pride and concern. Some siblings reportedly admire Johanna's independence and thoughtful approach, while others are privately struggling to understand why she feels the need to change something that worked for generations. It's a delicate balance, family loyalty versus personal conviction, and one that has clearly tested emotional bonds. Beyond the immediate family, what's truly fascinating is how the public has turned this into a mirror of its own parenting anxieties. Every parent watching this unfold seems to see a piece of themselves in the story. In an age where parenting advice floods social media from every direction, and where every choice can be dissected by strangers online, Johanna's situation reflects a universal truth. There is no single right way to raise a child. Every decision, whether rooted in tradition or innovation, comes with risks, rewards, and criticism. Thanks for watching. It's not hard to imagine her lying awake at night, torn between letting things unfold naturally and stepping in to prevent what she believed could become a lifelong regret for her sister. Moreover, in the context of faith and family reputation, such a decision carries immense weight. The Duggars have built their lives around their beliefs, and for them, marriage is not just a personal commitment, It's a covenant deeply rooted in spiritual values. If Jana felt that the foundation of that covenant was unstable, she may have seen it as her moral duty to act, even at the cost of her own peace. The public's fascination with this story also speaks volumes about how the Duggar family continues to captivate audiences years after their television days. Viewers who grew up watching them often feel emotionally invested in their lives, which makes stories like this feel almost personal. Yet behind the headlines and speculation are real people navigating real emotions: love, fear, faith, and doubt. As the dust settles, one thing seems clear. Jana's actions have sparked a new wave of reflection, not just within her family but among fans who are asking themselves where the line between love and interference truly lies. Should an older sibling have the authority to halt such a life-altering event? Or was Jana simply acting out of deep compassion in a moment of clarity? Emotional reactions aside, it's undeniable that her decision will have lasting effects. Relationships may need time to heal, trust may have to be rebuilt, and the family will likely face both internal and external criticism. Yet sometimes it's in the aftermath of such chaos that clarity emerges. For Jana, this may also mark a turning point, a moment where she steps out of her lifelong role as caretaker and begins to assert her own voice more openly. Some fans have expressed admiration for her courage, calling her actions a rare example of integrity under pressure. They argue that it takes immense strength to stand against the tide of expectation and to make a choice that might be misunderstood but ultimately rooted in genuine care. In an era where image and public perception often dictate behavior, Jana's decision reminds us of the importance of conscience. It teaches that doing the right thing is not always glamorous, and that moral strength sometimes requires facing misunderstanding and even ridicule. As days pass, more details may surface about what led to the wedding's cancellation, but one can already sense that this incident will be remembered not as a scandal, but as a lesson in courage and compassion. Whether or not the wedding is rescheduled, the deeper story is about family, faith, and the complexity of love. The emotional aftermath will likely linger, but it might also bring healing, a chance for open communication and renewed trust between sisters who, despite the circumstances, share an unbreakable bond. For the viewers and followers who have watched this family evolve over time, this moment invites a pause for reflection. It challenges us to think about our own relationships, about when to step in and when to let go, about how love sometimes demands hard choices. And perhaps that is the most human part of it all, understanding that behind every public story lies a private struggle, and behind every decision lies a heart that simply wants to do what's right. As the story continues to unfold, the world will watch with empathy, hoping that in time, both Jana and Johanna find peace in knowing that even in the face of heartbreak, love, when guided by truth, can still lead the way forward. Johanna Duggar parenting decision sparks massive debate. Johanna Duggar's latest parenting decision has taken social media by storm, igniting an intense debate that has split fans, critics, and parenting experts right down the middle. What seemed like a simple family moment quickly turned into a national conversation about modern parenting, generational values, and the ever-present influence of the Duggar family's legacy. At the center of it all is Johanna, young, determined, and learning to navigate her role as a mother under the glaring public spotlight that has surrounded her family for decades. Her choice, though deeply personal, has now become a public flashpoint, raising questions that extend far beyond one family's home and into the broader cultural dialogue about how children should be raised in today's world. It all began when Johanna shared a glimpse of her new parenting approach in a recent family video. What she thought would be an inspiring moment about nurturing independence and teaching discipline soon triggered an avalanche of emotional responses. Some viewers praised her for being thoughtful and progressive, while others accused her of being too strict or too lenient, depending on their interpretations. The irony, of course, is that the Duggar family has long been defined by their strong views on child rearing, faith, and structure.